Welcome to the Deep Dive. Don't forget to hit subscribe and follow us if you want more deep dives like this one. Today, we're going to be looking at some new research about performance reviews, specifically how they impact women in the workplace. We're mostly going to be talking about a new study by Textio. It had some pretty interesting findings, and to be honest, some frustrating ones too.
Yeah, it is fascinating. It's definitely something a lot of people are thinking about right now.
Joe, ready to jump in?
Absolutely.
Okay, so you ready for this? Textio found that 88% of high-performing women get feedback on their personality in their reviews. But only 12% of high-performing men get the same kind of feedback. That's a huge difference. It really makes you wonder what's going on in these evaluations.
It really does. And it's not even just the numbers, it's the actual language that's so interesting. Words like collaborative or helpful are used way more to describe women, and then men are more likely to be called ambitious or confident.
Oh, wow. So you're saying the words themselves are showing some unconscious bias. That's kind of alarming because those personality words don't tell us anything about how someone's actually performing. Like if you're meeting deadlines and going above and beyond, why does it matter if you're collaborative or ambitious?
Exactly. And that's what's so interesting here. This whole idea of focusing on personality in performance reviews is just flawed. It's vague and subjective. And it often relies on stereotypes and unconscious bias.
Okay, so are you saying we should never describe someone's personality in a review?
Yeah.
I mean, isn't being able to work well with others part of most jobs?
It's not about ignoring personality completely. It's about recognizing that those vague personality labels aren't helpful in a professional setting. It's like saying someone is too nice or that they need to be more assertive. What does that even mean in terms of concrete actions?
Yeah, it's like saying someone has a bad attitude.
Yeah.
It doesn't give you anything to work with.
Exactly. It's not actionable. Instead of focusing on these vague traits, feedback should be specific and behavioral. Tell the person exactly what they did, how it impacted others, and what they could do differently next time, for example. Instead of saying, you come across as aggressive, you could say, in that meeting, you interrupted your colleagues several times and dismissed their ideas without considering them. This can make others feel like their contributions aren't valued.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. It's about giving feedback that is actually useful.
Yeah.
And helps the person grow and develop in their role, right?
Exactly. And this isn't just about being nice with feedback. Textio's research actually found a strong link between low-quality feedback and higher turnover rates. So employees who get vague personality-based feedback, they're way more likely to leave the company within a year.
That's right. Think about it from the employee's perspective. If you're always getting feedback that feels subjective and unfair, you know it can be really demotivating. It can make you question your abilities and whether you even belong at that company. Yeah, it's almost like you're being judged for who you are, not what you actually do.
Exactly. And this is a classic example of how unconscious bias can show up at work. We might not even realize we're doing it. But those subtle cues in the words we choose, they send a really powerful message. And for women, those messages can be based on societal expectations and gender roles.
It's like we're still holding women to a different standard, even when they're exceeding expectations.
Yeah, and that's what's so frustrating about this. You'd think that in 2024, we'd be past this kind of bias. But the truth is, it's still happening all the time.
So what can we actually do about it? It's one thing to point out the problem, but how do we actually change those biases and create a more equitable system for everyone?
Well, the first step is awareness. We need to understand how these biases work and the impact they have on people and organizations. Once we're aware of the problem, we can start to challenge those biases and develop more objective and inclusive ways of evaluating people.
Okay, but how do we actually challenge those biases?
Yeah.
Like in a practical way, especially when it comes to something as formal as performance reviews.
It starts by shifting our focus from subjective personality traits to concrete actions and outcomes. So instead of saying someone is too aggressive, you could say, during the negotiation, I noticed that you interrupted the other party several times. This made it difficult to have a productive conversation and reach an agreement that worked for everyone. Do you see the difference there?
Yeah, it's way more specific.
Right.
It gives the person a clear understanding of what they did and how it impacted the situation. It takes the focus away from who they are and puts it on what they actually did.
Exactly. And this approach not only helps the employee understand the feedback, it also makes the reviewer be more objective and specific in their observations. It gets rid of those vague personality judgments that are often rooted in bias.
I see how this could really level the playing field. If we evaluate everyone based on concrete actions and outcomes, it becomes much harder for unconscious bias to sneak in.
Right. And remember giving effective feedback. It's about more than just pointing out areas for improvement. It's also about recognizing and celebrating an employee's accomplishments. Too often, performance reviews just focus on the negative, which can be really demoralizing.
It's like we forget to mention all the things they're doing well. We're so focused on finding flaws that we overlook their strengths and successes.
Exactly. It's important to give a balanced perspective and acknowledge both the good and the bad parts of an employee's performance.
So it sounds like a big part of this is about shifting our mindset. Instead of seeing performance reviews as a way to criticize or find fault, we need to see them as an opportunity for growth and development for everyone.
I completely agree. It's about helping employees reach their full potential, both for their own good and for the good of the company. And when we give feedback that's specific and actionable and focused on behaviors, we create a much more supportive and empowering environment.
It feels like this shift from personality to concrete actions could really help create more equity and opportunity for women at work. I mean, if we're judging people based on their work and what they contribute, rather than on subjective opinions about their personality, it creates a much fairer system.
It's definitely a step in the right direction. It's a conversation that needs to happen more often.
Yeah, it's a conversation we need to keep having, for sure. So as we wrap up our deep dive into this topic, let's go over the key takeaways.
Sure.
First, we learned that personality traits don't really belong in performance reviews. They're too vague and subjective. And they often reflect unconscious biases, more than they reflect actual performance.
Yeah, and as we've seen from the data, those biases can have a real impact on how women are seen and evaluated at work.
We also talked about how important it is to focus on specific behaviors and outcomes when you give feedback. Instead of saying someone is abrasive or too emotional, give concrete examples of their actions and how those actions affected the team or the project. This makes the feedback way more useful and helps the person understand what they need to do to improve.
And it's also really important to remember that feedback should go both ways.
Right.
It's not just about telling someone what to improve, it's also about recognizing and celebrating their achievements. Make sure you're talking about the good things they're doing, not just the negative stuff.
Right. It's about balance.
Exactly.
And finally, we talked about how important it is to be mindful of the language we use, especially in formal settings like performance reviews. Those subtle biases can really slip in even when we don't mean for them to. So really think about the words you choose and how they might affect the other person.
It's about being intentional and thoughtful in how we give feedback, making sure it's fair and objective, and focused on helping each employee reach their full potential.
This has been a really eye-opening conversation. I'm curious to hear what you think about all of this. Has this changed how you think about performance reviews? What stood out to you as most surprising or concerning?
For me, the most striking thing is how these small differences in language can have such a huge impact on someone's career. It really shows how important it is to be aware and to choose your words carefully when you're giving feedback.
Yeah, it's a powerful reminder that words have weight, especially at work, where they can really affect someone's opportunities and how they feel about themselves.
Absolutely.
So as we wrap things up, here's one last question for you to think about. Could this shift towards focusing on concrete actions and achievements be the key to creating a more equitable workplace for everyone? A workplace where you're judged on your merits and your work, not on people's assumptions about you or their unconscious biases.
That's a really interesting thought. I think it has a lot of potential. It could lead to a system that's more objective and merit-based, which would be better for everyone.
If you want to learn more about this, be sure to check out the full text study. And of course, don't forget to subscribe and follow us for more deep dives into interesting and important topics that affect us all.
See you on the next deep dive.